What's up, performance marketers? Welcome to my channel. Every day on this channel, we talk about lead gen arbitrage, media arbitrage, affiliate marketing, all kinds of online marketing tactics, ninja tactics, where we work on results. We measure everything. We are performance marketers. We go out and we find our customers. We scale our businesses or we scale somebody else's businesses. And today on this channel, we are going to go over how to buy leads with an insurance agent that does not know how to cut a deal with a lead gen company. And you can watch how I'm going to ask questions to have some discovery about what's going on in the business so that I can give him some advice on how he can cut a deal with a marketing company and start buying leads and see if he can scale his business. Welcome to the channel. We are going to talk about how to buy leads. I have a friend who's in the insurance space. He wants to get involved in the lead generation space. He does not know how to cut a deal. He does not have people to follow up on leads. He does not have the ability to work leads. So he needs to figure out what he can do. So we're going to go over. I have no idea how this call is going to go. I'm just going to have a conversation with him, do a little bit of a discovery on his business so that I can make some recommendations that might be able to help you in your business. If you're looking to scale your business and you'd like to do it using my online marketing tactics. So stick around and let's dive in. Hey. Welcome, Scott Bernstein, ladies and gentlemen, the Mets fan of the year. Did you see Escobar last night?
I was sleeping, but I did see the long first inning.
He hit for the cycle. You know that, right?
I know he did. Of course I know. I just was sleeping through it, but
nice response after losing the first two in LA.
It was huge.
I gotta tell you,
it was huge. I love
winning those two, and then now winning. I mean, we're a good team, man. We're scrappy.
I agree.
Can't wait.
Definitely scrappy, and it's nice to have a real manager.
I'd like to see a one or two like key moves at the All-Star break and get our
coming
back.
They're coming.
Totally.
For sure.
And you just got to see who's out of it. Maybe we get Mike Trout. Dude, he's like 0 for 30.
I know.
Yeah,
I think he broke that streak last night.
They're terrible. I don't even think he played last night. I'm not sure. Did you see, before we dive into this, did you see that University of Maryland last night, baseball?
I did not.
Okay, so University of Maryland baseball program is real deal right now.
Oh, I know. We know a kid that's on the team that my son used to play travel ball with.
Ramsey?
Sean Lane, who's a big first baseman, freshman.
These guys, I mean, this is a serious program. They had, I think, the third most wins in the country.
They're huge.
They're a real deal. And it's coincidence. UConn had, I think, second most wins in the country, and they were in their bracket. So in any event, they lost to UConn. To go into the losers bracket. They beat Wake Forest to then go, and they had to beat now UConn twice. They beat UConn the first game on like a walk-off 11th inning, like bottom of 11th, like in like dramatic fashion, which was cool. And then last night was the game, and they were down 9-1. Okay.
No way.
Yeah, they were down 9-1. They were down. They gave up like a grand slam first inning. The first pitcher didn't make it out of the first inning. They were down. They battled back. Okay, they battled back to where it was the top of the eighth. They were the away team for some reason. It was in College Park, and there was a man on third, and it was 10-8. They battled back to make it 10-8. Man on third, 1 out, and this kid Alain or something. I don't even know how to pronounce his last name, but he was the Big Ten Player of the Year. Plays center field, stud. Like. Just hits for average, home runs, quick, can run, can steal bases. Just a stud, lefty. And he hits a dribbler down the first base line. And he's running up the first base line. And the pitcher grabs the ball and tosses it behind Alain to like the first baseman. And the first baseman kind of leans over. And he's running up the line Like he's not like inside the field, run up the line, and they collide, right? Like he's safe. Guy calls him safe. The home plate umpire comes out and says, interference, you're out. And
No way.
it goes from, instead of it being the run scores on third, man on first, one out, and our number 3 batter coming up, it went to that guy from the guy who scored, comes off the board, goes back to third, and there's 2 outs and man on third. And like they reviewed it and they ended up keeping the call, and it was a terrible call. Like just so bad on so many levels that like the crowd went nuts. Social media, I think today is like, I saw a guy this morning who told me he saw it on TikTok. Like
I guess they lost.
Well, so they ended up losing 11-8. Yeah.
Ugh.
Well, so, but
So they're
like
out.
they're out. They're out. They didn't advance.
Sucks.
But like, who knows? Like, it would have been 10-9, one out, man on first. He's got, he might have had like 20 stolen bases. He could have stole second. Number 3 and 4 batter coming up. Just need a base hit. That's it, right? And the ball game's tied. And then they brought in their number 3 hitter. I didn't even know if he pitched or not, but they were all hurting on pitching, because it's like it's a hardcore
Tournament
like
style. Right.
exactly, like you're just throwing as many people as you can, but you don't want to hurt your pitchers.
Yep.
And they were really good. Unfortunately, they did not win, and now the season's
That
over
sucks.
because of it. And it's like, even the announcers were like, if it's the first inning, could live with it. In the top of the 8th, in the circumstances of what was happening, if you go Google and watch what happens,
I'll check it out.
It was. I mean, I don't even know what else he could have done. I play baseball. I don't know what he could have done other than
I'll have to check it out.
slide into first base, which you're not supposed to do, right? He just was running straight, literally straight, and the first baseman leaned over to go get the ball, and they collided, and
Wow.
and that was it. And unfortunately, yeah, they lost, which kind of stinks because they were good. This year, everybody was, we thought this is the year. Unfortunately, it was not. I don't know if I'm going to use this or not. But, all right, so let's dive in here because I don't have a ton of time, but I want to
Sure.
go over this with you. And I figure if I'm going to go over it with you, I might as well tape it and then use this because the amount of questions I get like this from people, I get it all the time. So,
Okay.
I don't even have an agenda here on how we're going to do this. We're just gonna start to talk. I'm gonna type up some things here just as on a discovery of like the conversation we're having. So you have these sites. Someone's generating leads and they want to sell them to you. So where are they generating the leads? I see your Shiva, the resource for Jewish mourning, plans, and funeral. Okay, so these seem like they're relevant, right? So cemeteries. So this is all around people looking for when people pass away. I would imagine you buy the insurance before they pass away, but in any event.
Well, what would be happening is they're basically buying plots, right?
Mhm.
They're planning ahead.
Yep.
So in theory, they could be buying the insurance to pay or to recoup cost down the road when they actually pass.
Got it. So someone comes here, they buy the plot today for the future, and then they want to buy insurance against what they're buying the plot for, whether it's for themselves or for their kids or whomever. Correct?
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, when you're visiting a site like this, right, I would think insurance could come into your mind at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. No doubt.
Could be final expense, could be, traditional insurance.
Okay. Did he take you through any process of how he's generating leads?
No.
Okay. So let's just look. Learn, plan, find, search. Okay. Where's the sign up? Free planning guide. Okay. So this is an ethical bribe, right? So maybe he's capturing data here by giving you something for free. Schedule a meeting. Find a cemetery. Let's see what happens if we click that. Yep. Okay. So this is what we call a lead magnet. All right. So the idea here is that he's giving away something of value. In return, he's getting information from somebody. He's building up his database, right? So just without going into detail about what I do, Survey Detective, which is, software that I'm building, would have this as the back-end goals, right? And we would use surveys to go out and attract the avatar that you're looking for to come through and give you some information so you can segment them based off of certain characteristics and then have some sort of call to action on the back end. This could be it, right? However, on the surveys that we're doing, we already collect this information, most of it, so that you wouldn't even have to collect this again. So you could do something else depending on what the business is. But in any event, Eric, last name, email, phone, city, state, zip, type of service, cremation, funeral burial. Okay, boom, submit. Okay. Our partners, Shiva, e-condone, Sympathy Brands, So this is a publisher to me, right? This could be, an affiliate if someone owned this site, right? Or a publisher, the way I look at it. So I filled out the lead form. It says your complimentary planning guide and checklist. Thank you for requesting the cemetery and burial and funeral planning checklist. This has been emailed to you at the address requested. Okay, so now they go and they send that to me. See, for me, like when I generate a lead like that, you have somebody interested. It's like, if you have them there, why stop, right? Why not continue to engage them and get them while they're thinking about it right now? Instead, now I got to go send an email. Then I have to re-engage them to ultimately get them thinking about this again. And here, I got an email, went into my junk folder. Thank you for requesting the burial and funeral planning guide checklist. The attached guide provides you with the following step-by-step of how to navigate the most sensitive thing. If you would like to schedule a meeting to speak with a planning specialist, schedule a meeting. Okay, let's put this in my inbox. I'm going to do that. Okay, schedule a meeting. Let's see what that does. When I got the email, they asked me if I wanted to schedule a meeting. So click here, schedule a meeting. Who are you planning this for? And it's going to take me through continue to the existing meeting or some sort of survey. Good. This is the free guide, cemetery burial planning guide, right? So they're giving value off the bat. Determine type of burial, select cemetery, funeral, schedule arrangement. So this is all great, right? For me, we're in a world of just relationships. We're in a world of information. We're in a world of just the ability to just hop on a Zoom right now like you and I are doing and seeing each other, right? So one of the things for me that I push people to do either through their own attractive character, either it needs to be them or it needs to be the brand in some way where you're starting to create a relationship with this person. So you want to create an authority, right? You want to be an expert. You want to be the authority. They want you to think that you are the be all end all, right? So it's like if you're the guy and you're in a relationship business, if you're the guy that's in the front end delivering this value, I would want you somewhere here on the front end of, hi, I'm Scott. Here's reasons why you need this. And just talk through it. You know your avatar, you know the who. The more you know the who, the more you can speak to it. That's the whole thing with when you're building out your own surveys. But so in any event, this is what they're doing here, which is cool, right? And they're giving some value. Great. I still don't know, I don't have a connection with anybody yet. It's still cemetery.com, but whatever. So, okay, I'm planning for myself or a loved one. Which one do you want me to hit?
Loved one.
Okay. When would you require services?
Planning for the future.
Okay. Find your loved one's location. What do you want to put?
Let's put one. We'll use my work. 11501.
Okay. Type of burial and funeral.
Burial.
Your loved one's information. Okay. Schedule a meeting. Where would you like to meet? Virtual, residence, funeral home, phone call, other.
Virtual.
Okay. Anytime you are going to buy from somewhere, you want to go through and just see like the user experience, right? You want to try to understand what's going on, right? Okay. Thursday, July 9th, 11 to 12, confirm your meeting. So they just took you through like a process where they got a good amount of information and they scheduled a meeting for you where somebody can be there for that call. Now, the question you're going to want to know about is what's the show up rate, right? You're going to want to know if I have somebody waiting to have a conversation with somebody, what happens if I pay somebody and then they don't show up? You're going to be pissed. Thank you for scheduling to assist us. Please answer the phone about your loved one. Wow, it's a lot of information.
That's a lot. That's a lot of info.
If someone's willing to fill all this out, Dude, it's a good lead, man. I would imagine for you, I would think that it's a good lead, right? If they're willing to
I would
do that.
agree.
Now I have some comments on that, but in any event, all right. So this isn't just like a simple little lead play, right? So I get it. I understand what they're doing. They're getting a sign up, and then they want to sell this to somebody. Correct? Has he told you what he wants to sell it to you for?
No. So it's very preliminary stage. It's pretty much, what he's saying is, he's generating however many thousand leads a month. And he wants to finally, because we've talked for a few years on and off, he wants to finally start seeing how we can transition to sell insurance from it. Back in the day, he wanted to be involved in the selling of the insurance. And now I think he's realized that he doesn't want to be involved in that part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But he wants to sell the information.
Okay.
That's kind of where we're at.
Cool. So that's great. This is just one media source, right? So it doesn't really matter. What you need to do is you need to understand what's going on in your business, right? So here's my notes, right? 10 to 30,000 usually is the insurance policy that you would sell. No underwriting. You do not know how to structure a deal with this person. You want to sell the insurance. You want to do some marketing deal, which is really more of a performance model. You want to pay on an acquisition of when you sell insurance. You do not want to be the buyer of leads. You do not want to have anyone follow up on the calls, right? You want what?
Well,
when someone has a meeting, would you want somebody to have the meeting?
Well, when I say we don't want to buy the leads, I guess the question really comes down to is,
I understand what you mean.
What's the cost per lead, right?
Well, it's not just the cost per lead, because there's a lot, there's very different ways that you can purchase leads. And if I'm hearing right from what you just said, you do not have the manpower on the back end to work leads. So for you to buy leads, that lead needs to be very, very high quality, which means that they're going to need to capture a tremendous amount of information. They're going to have to guide the person, which is, from everything I just went through, this looks like a good lead. This looks like a good fit for your business, versus if I were to go out and generate leads for you in a lot of other ways that I do that today from other companies, it could be the best lead in the world. But if you're not prepared on the back end to follow up and close those leads, create sequences, communicate with them in a way that is needed, it's not going to work for you, and you're going to lose money. And you're going to be like, these leads suck. Oh, you suck. You don't know what you're doing. All right, I hear it all the time, right? And you can sell a lead to 5 different people, and 2 of them love your leads, 3 of them hate them. It's the exact same lead, and it really comes down to how well structured are you on the back end? How much do you understand what's going on? Do you know how to work the leads? Do you know how to close these leads, et cetera, right? Which is fine. And listen, you're in the business of insurance. You're not in the business of lead gen. It's not what you do, so it's understandable why that would happen, right? But before we do that, I just need to understand, first off, here's the first thing I would ask you. You need to understand what is the value of a customer to you. So if you're selling to $10,000 to $30,000 policies, what do you make? You need to know that. And then you need to work backwards, right? You need to know what the value is of a customer before you can figure out what you can afford. So with on or about like guesstimates, I would imagine depending on how much insurance you sell would determine what the value of that customer is. So just give me like a guesstimate of like the value of a customer.
I would say in this case, I would say to use $200 to $500.
$200 to $500.
Correct.
And that's all based on if it's 10 to 30K. So is that the bottom line for you?
That's a rough number based on selling a policy of that size.
Okay. So could we?
You need me to narrow it down a little bit further?
Well, let's just work. You need to know how much the value of the customer is, but let's just do the average is what, $350?
Exactly. Let's use $350.
Average per customer. Okay. So let's pretend like that's what you're making. Okay. Now you need to understand your business. So you need to figure out what is the allowable you are willing to spend to acquire a customer. Okay, you need to figure out
Sure.
what are you willing to spend to get a customer for $350. What is that?
I don't know yet.
Yeah, you do. What do you mean? What kind of
I don't
margins do you
know.
want to work on?
Well, look,
If you want to
it's
work on 50% margins, then you can spend $175. If you want to work on 75% margins, you can afford a customer for what is that, like a little bit under $90, right? 80 something dollars per
so
close.
let's use a 50% margin.
Okay. So if you want to work on margin of 50%, that's way too much. Then that's your allowable. Okay? So this is what you're willing to spend right now for every time you close on a customer, right? This is what you're saying you want to spend with him. So you want to start off with a simple deal with him where if he's willing to do it, you could say, okay, hey, Joey, what's up, buddy? You want to sell me some leads? That sounds great. I don't want to pay per lead. I want to do a marketing deal with you where I pay you every time I acquire a new customer. I'm willing to pay you $175 for every close of a deal. Every time I sell insurance, I will give you $175. If he says yes, great. Let him go generate the lead, let him book the calls for you, set you up, you go and work those leads, and then if you close, then you will pay him. There's no way for him to know if you're closing or not, so you'd have to report to him. You'd have to be
Sure.
there's like a trust factor there because there's no pixels being fired, right? You could be recording the phone calls and you could be showing him, these calls, but for the most part, he's in the dark, right? In that scenario, who has more risk, the publisher or you?
The publisher.
Of course, right? So he may say, Scott, I love you, but that doesn't work for me. So when you're buying media in this business, it's really just risk on the table of who's taking on most of the risk. So if you look at it here, the allowable on a sale, right? CPA is what you're willing to pay, right? If we work backwards on that, then we would look at allowable for what's happening in this is they're booking a meeting. For a booked meeting, allowable for a lead, right? We're working backwards.
Yep.
Allowable for a click. Now, in this scenario, they're not driving traffic to your form, they're driving traffic to their form, they're capturing the data, so you don't have a form for them to drive traffic to. However, if you want to play within these metrics, this is how you would work out your numbers to figure it out, right? So the thing here is, what you would need to know is what is the conversion rate from a booked meeting to a sale, right? So you would want to know how many people did he book, and of those people that he booked, how many people are you closing, and then what is the value of that, and then at that point you can figure out what the value of a booked meeting is to you. So if you know your numbers here, you'll pay anything at this point, right? You might even say to him, I'll pay you on a lead, but I still need you to get the meeting set up. In this scenario, like, it just comes down to, like, right, if we talk about risk reward, up here he's taking all the risk. Down here, the risk is more on you. He's still driving a click. He's still got to get a click, but all these things need to happen. Click to a lead, to a booked meeting, to a sale, right? That's the user journey at this point, right? I don't know how long it takes from the booked meeting to when you close a sale. Is that going to happen immediate? I mean, it sounds like it's definitely less time than your normal whole life insurance business or whatever else you're doing. So Could someone purchase if you get the right intent? Sure, I could see it happening off the bat, right? You don't have to do any underwriting, so that's huge for this business. It's huge, right? But so in any event, what I would want to know is, what do you think? Well, the other thing is when they book a call, It's not just that, right? I'd actually move this down because from a book call, show up for meeting, right? So you need a show up rate. So booked meeting, so you're gonna wanna know all this stuff, right? So if we did it here, let's say, here, I'll just do some fun numbers for you. Let's say, you don't really care about his clicks, but we can do it anyway. Let's say clicks, let's say he gets 1,000 clicks. Let's say that he, from the clicks, let's say click to lead percentage. Let's say he gets 10%, right? And then from a lead to booked meeting, let's say it's 10%, right? And then from a booked meeting to show up percentage, let's say it's 30%, okay? So if we run these numbers off the bat, right? All right, so you have 3 meetings that are going to show up that you have a chance to close. Right, now these are all variables here. This, all right, that, and that, right? And these numbers can skew this model. If in this scenario, you don't know what he's wanting to charge you for, I'd imagine that he's going to either charge you for a lead or a book meeting, right?
Okay.
Now you might negotiate with him, I'll pay you for a book meeting, but if the person doesn't show up, I'm not paying you for that, right? He might say, okay, or he might say, okay, I'll let you scrub up to 10% of the book meetings that I get for you, right? That's all in the negotiating of the discussion when you're doing the deal, right? But in any event, if you're doing that, I'm going to move these numbers up so it gets a little bit more exciting. And so I'm going to give you a close percentage. Let's say you close 50% of the people. So let's say that he converts 25%. Let's say that of those 25%, he books 25%. And then you have a book meeting of 62. And then if 30% show up, let's say 18 show up. Let's say that you're going to close 50%. So you're going to do that. This is the sales, CPA, right? Your allowable that we discussed was $175. So your media cost would be $1,600. Your gross revenue would be, well, what we said here.
350.
Right, let's put that up there. So your gross revenue would be your 350 times the 9. Your net margin, well, your gross net margin would be that minus that, and you would make $1,600. Okay, so you see here, right? You're profitable. Now the question is, at 175, right? Are you going to close this many? You have no idea.
Right. Correct.
So these are the variables of the business, and how do you figure it out? You test. You just test.
Yeah, I mean, the question also is what he deems a lead, right? Is a lead to him a click? Is a lead to him a book
No.
meeting?
A click is a click.
Right.
A lead
Right.
is defined as somebody that opts in with some information,
Sure.
and then you would be purchasing that information. One, when you do that, you also have the permission you're going to have something in there that has your information in there that says that when they're opting in, they're giving you permission to communicate with them. Okay, you're going to want that.
Right.
So you're a marketing partner of his. You know, I don't know how much information to give you, but I would dive into, you know, where is he getting the traffic from? If he's got some sexy domains, right? So could he be getting some SEO traffic? SEO is like organic traffic and search. That's very high quality traffic. If he's buying PPC, which is also through search, again, very high quality traffic. You know why the reason why it's high quality traffic?
No.
Because the user has intent. The user is the one creating this action. They're going into Google and they're typing in funeral expense, buy a plot, plan for the future, right? It's on their mind. They're the ones going and doing it. Versus like if you're going out and buying media on Facebook, right? Someone hops onto Facebook and you're creating an ad in their newsfeed, right? The whole goal of marketers is you want to create some pattern interruption. You want to capture the eye of the person. But that person, when they're logging onto Facebook, is not thinking about buying any funeral insurance, right? They're going on to look at their friends or whatever they're doing on Facebook, and then you capture their eye, they click, and then they go through this process and you take them down that funnel, right? Versus in Google, they are the ones starting that process. So that's a higher valued lead. Should be worth more. You should close more, right? The percentages of that close should be higher. And it really, you know, it just comes down to like at what stage in the process are you getting that person, right? If they're from Google, they're clicking, they're going to his page, they're signing up, they're putting in all that information, and then you're getting a booked call. And after they book the call, they're giving more information, then that's a really high quality lead, man. You should have a good close rate.
Right.
I would imagine. Like that's, I don't know what kind of scale there is here. I don't know what the volume is for you. But, you know, listen, what if he's getting 10,000 clicks a month, right? So like I just showed you like a simple plain number. What if he's getting 50,000 clicks a month? Like that's what the business would look like for you. And you'd be making 82K a month, right? If you were here, you'd be spending 82K and you'd be generating 164,000. If you could do this on a monthly basis, right? Then 12 months on this piece of business without doing anything, right? You're making almost $1 million in profit.
Yep.
So, you know, for you, you need to figure out what is it that you can buy traffic for? How much risk are you willing to take to buy this traffic? And you go from there, right? So you know right here that you can afford an allowable for sale at $175. Well, what can you pay per lead?
I don't know yet.
Yes, you do.
But 175.
It's just math. It's just math.
No, I got you.
That's it, right?
I got you.
So,
I just got to confirm some of the numbers, you know, some of the behind the scenes numbers.
No. What is the allowable per sale?
175.
175. So if the metrics stay the same like this, you're getting 12,500 leads. All you got to do is just work backwards, right? Well, you know that you're willing to spend a sale here. You're getting a 50% conversion rate. So these are the show ups. These are the sales. So at 468 times 175, you're spending 82K. Is that what we said? So if you look here, right? Are you willing to spend $82,000 for 468 sales? Of course you are. The answer is yes, because right here you're controlling it because all you're doing is you're spending $175. Well, your allowable here is if he's going to generate 468 sales off these 12,500. So if you wanted to look at what is the conversion rate from a lead to sale percentage, well, we could look at it like this, right? So this is how I would look at it. I would take this divided by the leads. That doesn't make sense. Yeah? Is that right? 3%?
I think it's right.
Yeah, okay. Well, all right. So you get a 3% conversion rate on a lead per sale, right? If your lead allowable, we would just look at what are you willing to spend, 82,000 divided by your 12.5. So you could pay $7 a lead, 656 actually, right? What can you pay for a book meeting?
You tell me. You're the Excel. You're the Excel magician.
So we're doing a sale divided by book meetings. So it's 15%. Show up at meeting to sale percentage. Let's see what that looks like. So where's that? We have sales divided by the show up, which we know is already 50%, right? We worked that number ourselves. 15%. So now we just need to look at, the reason why we want to know those percentages is because that's going to come into play when you're working on your model. So what is your booked meeting allowable, right? So how do we figure that out? Can you figure it out?
It's a lot of numbers, Eric.
All right, so it's okay. That's the first timer.
Yep.
Here's your number, dude. Here's your numbers. Here's your allowables. All right, I'll put these in red just because you're spending it, right? And here's what you're making. Down here. All right, so you have an $82,000 media cost allowable. So it doesn't change for you. It doesn't really matter. It's just how many book meetings divided by your 82,000. So you want to pay 26. So what are you paying for a show up for a meeting? Allowable. So you take how much? Well, you take your 82,000, you divide it by what? People that showed up, right?
Yep.
And then if we ran the numbers just to show that the numbers work, right, we would look at show up rate to sale percentage, right? Do you know what that's going to be?
Well,
we did that already. That's right here. Show up rate.
50%.
Right. My bad. So we already did that. So now, allowable. Now we would want to say sale allowable. You know what that is? That's what I meant. You know what this is going to be?
No.
Yeah, you do. What are we doing? 82,000 divided by the sales should equal 175, right? Because that's what we started with up here.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you told me your allowable was. So what I'm trying to show you here of when you're having a conversation with somebody is you got to know your numbers. You got to know what you can afford.
Sure.
And you got to work the business from you closing the business and work all the way in reverse. And then at that point, when you're having a conversation, if you have this in front of you, right, these are the things that you're going to be looking at when you're saying, all right, well, what can I afford? Well, I know that if I'm buying the leads, if I can afford $6.56, right? Well, if you're paying for the lead, then you just want to pay attention for what happens after the lead, right? How many people book, how many people show up, and then the close. If you're paying for the booked meeting, you don't really care about the leads, right? Because you're not paying for anything until they book a meeting. So you would start from booking a meeting. And then you would say, okay, if you book me 3,125 meetings, I need to know what's the percentage of people that are going to show up for that meeting. I want to know. Because the numbers, this will change everything, man. Right? Watch.
Right.
What happens if 40% show up?
Sure.
What happens if 50% show up? See what's happening here? See these numbers changing? You know why these numbers are changing?
You're seeing more people.
Right. It doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter what you pay in a lead. It doesn't matter what you pay on a booked meeting, on a show up. It matters, but it all matters to that, like the end game. What do you want to spend every time you get a customer? Now, when you work backwards, you can do anything. You could pay on a show up, a book meeting, a lead, a click. You can go to the impression if you had to, right? Well, the thing is that most people don't know this, right? So this is where you can get an edge in your business, right? You could be competing with 25,000 other insurance brokers out there who don't understand this. And like you, I only want to pay when I get a sale. Well, if I'm a guy driving traffic and I have leads, and you come to me and say, you know what, Eric, dude, I'd be willing to pay you $45 when you book a meeting. For every booked meeting, I'll pay you $45. When everybody else wants to pay $175 for a closed sale. By the way, it's the exact same thing, right?
I
Exact same thing. But guess what? If no one else is doing that, maybe the guy be willing to pay. Maybe you take $20, right? This is your number here. But what if you can get some booked meetings for $20? Well, now you're putting yourself in a position to really have a sexy business. If all of these numbers stay the same, right? So the variables are these percentages of what's happening as you start to buy traffic. As you start to do this, the only way you're going to learn is if you test, right?
Yep.
As you test and you start to learn the numbers, you start to understand, usually for the most part, unless somebody tweaks what they're doing on the front end traffic sources, it's going to stay around that range for the most part, where you can make some predictions. Of course, you want to be watching it, right? Because what I like to call it is a true up, right? No matter what you're doing, you can true up on the back end later as you start to look at data every day and say, okay, well, how many meetings did we get? I know if you get me X amount of meetings, that I'm going to close X, Y, Z. And as long as you're getting the same type of traffic from somebody, you can model out the business. But the minute you go and buy traffic from somebody else, somewhere else, these numbers, you can use these numbers as a baseline, but it's going to be different because it's all based on where are you meeting this person in the journey of a lead, right? So you can play here. This seems like a good place for you to start because it looks like it's a good high quality lead and it's taking away a lot of the work you need to do. That if he's willing to get paid on a sale, then awesome, go for it. If he's like, I don't want to do that, then maybe he's getting, all right, then I'd be willing to pay you on a meeting as a test. Well, how do you do it? Okay, well, you know what, I want to spend $1,000 to test it out. I'm going to spend $5,000 to test it out. I'm going to spend $10,000. I'm willing to I'll send a contract for $100,000, but I can cancel at any time within 24 hours. And I want you to cap the leads to 10 a day, right? So what is that? Immediately, it looks like you're a player, but really at the end of the day, if you're willing to spend $50 for every book meeting and you're capping them at $10, your risk is $500 a day, right? But you signed a $100,000 contract, right? It doesn't really matter as long as you can have an out to cancel at any time, but it's all based on the perception of who you are and how you do the deal. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Right? So now I've been telling you to do this for years. Like, this is how you scale your business. People are doing this online today in a massive way, right? This is you going out to third-party publishers to buy leads, meetings, and you don't have to do anything from buying traffic. You could set up your own forms and drive traffic to your own forms. You could set up surveys from Survey Detective to drive traffic there and start generating leads, right? And you probably can get a lead for a lot cheaper, but then there's a lot more that has to go on the back end that maybe you're willing to invest in, maybe you're not, right? But at the end of the day, this is the business, man. I mean, look, dude, you have you could generate another $1.6 million if all these numbers are real. And I have a hunch that $350 is a low ball, right? Let's say that we use $500 as the value of the customer. And now you're allowable, well, what do we say, 50%? So, hang on, because we still use 175. Now our allowable is you could pay $250 for every customer, right? Where you got a $2.3 million gross margin business here from a publisher, and it's business you currently do not have in addition to what you do today.
Sure.
Could you use an extra $2.3 million?
Of course not.
Of course you could. Of course, everybody could. It's a no-brainer, right? And it's just a question of, there's a lot of variables here, right? It's like, how many clicks is he getting? How many leads is he getting? How many booked meetings is he getting? How many people are showing up for that meeting? Are these percentages happening? And then I would sit and talk to him. I'm happy to give you this. Go get on a call with the guy and start playing around with these numbers, right? And if he's willing to work with you on a booked meeting or even leads that are showing up, you don't care about any of this other stuff, right? All you care about is you start from when the person shows up, how many people am I going to close? And you can play with those numbers. You can change the close rate to give yourself, some room, maybe only close 20%. Well, at that point, what can you pay on a show up? Right here, show up for meeting allowable, $50 at 20% close rate. What if you close 10%? Now you can pay $25 for a show up. Make sense?
Yeah.
So this is a nice little media calculator for you to figure it out when you're playing around and you're communicating with whatever publisher you want to buy traffic from. And you just got to and all you got to do is start from the reverse. But you need to know your number. You need to know what you're going to make when you get a customer. And then you need to know what your allowable is. Now keep this in mind. This is your gross margin. This doesn't count for employees or rent or any of the other stuff. So you'd want to put that in the model for yourself. But I wasn't going to get into that today.
No, of course.
But so to answer your question, this is how you do it. And I wanted to come on and do this here for you so that I can also do it for my community. So because there's thousands of people that are in your position that don't realize this. Most people that are here that watch my stuff are like, oh, lead arbitrage, so I'm just going to go and generate leads and flip leads. People don't realize that you need leads as a real business. Learning this can change your business as an advertiser. If you're in insurance, if you're a dentist, if you're a chiropractor, if you're a coach, right? If you have an agent, it's all the same. It doesn't matter. It's just if you understand this stuff, then you can take matters into your own hands and you can really scale your business. And whether you're buying media yourself or you're going out and finding affiliates to do it, boom, you're a performance marketer. Welcome to the community, kid. You've graduated. Hey. Let's measure things. Let's go work on results. All right. Is that good? Does that work?
Absolutely.
Do you have any other questions?
Absolutely. No, I think I'm good.
Was that helpful? You have nothing. No questions whatsoever.
No. I mean, can you send me that?
Yeah. Send me a check for $120,000, then I'll send you that.
100%. No problem.
Well, let me ask you this question. If I could make you $468,000, would you pay me $120,000?
Of course I would.
Of course you would. Would you pay me $350,000 to make $468,000 in 1 year that you're going to have knowledge for a lifetime for?
Yeah.
Are you joking? Do you even have to think about that?
How much work do I have to put in to net $130,000?
But
what's
think
my
about
man hours?
What happens the following year. How much do you owe me? And the following year after that. And the following year after that. Why are you so short-sighted? As a matter of fact, would you pay me $750,000 to make $468,000? I can make the argument that you should, and if you don't, shame on you, right? Because I'm not doing this for you. I'm teaching you how to do it. I'm teaching you how to fish. I'm not fishing for you. If I could teach this to you today and you take a year, think about this, right? You send your kid to school for $80,000 a year for 4 years. So you're not positive, right? You're $320K in the hole to then hope your kid comes out of school and gets a job for $30,000 or $40,000, $50,000, and then figures out what they're going to do, right? Versus now I ask you, would you pay me to be in the hole for $300,000 where I could show you how to make $400K, $468. Now let's do that for 10 years. So you're going to make $4.6 million from this. You would have paid me $750K and you net $3.9 million. What happens in the next? Well, let's pretend like you actually figure out how to do this and you can scale it, right? Well, what happens if now you're going to go find 150,000 clicks on the internet? Now you made how much? 1.4 million, 14 million, right? And this is at the close rate of 10%. Let's go back to your 30% close rate. All right, now you just made $42 million in 10 years. Would you pay me $750,000 for that?
Absolutely.
Of course you would. You'd be silly if you didn't. So silly. Everybody looks at that number. They don't look at what they're getting and how they can scale it. They just, because they're so afraid. They're so afraid of like, well, am I going to really be able to do it? I don't know. Like, it's just these insecurities because they've never done it. But if you look at the math, it's a no-brainer. No-brainer. I've been telling you this for like years. So you pretty much, I've been telling you this for 10 years. So you've lost $42 million on the table.
I lost $42 million.
You didn't need it. You didn't need it. Well, good news is you got more time. So
Exactly.
giddy up. All right, man. Well, I hope this was helpful for you.
Thanks, man. I
Always
appreciate
here
it.
for you. I'll send
All
you
right.
that, and we will chat.
Okay.
All right, Scotty. Be good.
Later.